Next is Ed McCann. Ed is a former television writer and contributing editor for Country Living magazine. His features and essays have been published in many national magazines and literary journals. Ed was going to read a piece called Painting, an observational essay, but he apparently painted himself into a corner with too many words. An 8-minute limit on this. So tonight he will read Big Sister, a memoir, a wonderful memoir. Yeah.
I'm the youngest in a family of 6. The child my mother called the caboose, the last car on the freight train that was the McCann family. When I was a kid, my sister Mary was my rock and my haven. 10 years older than me, Mary was a beautiful hippie who taught me how to swim, pulled me on the sled, and took me to Harvey's for French fries with gravy. She taught me how to brush my teeth, laughing when I swallowed the foamy rinse water, and she allowed me to hang out with her cool teenage friends. Many secret and wonderful adventures began with 3 simple words: don't tell Mom. Perched on the handlebars, buttocks on knuckles, I could maintain my balance as long as I didn't look down at the bicycle tire between my splayed legs at the dizzying blur of speeding pavement. Together we crossed bridges and rode down strange streets. In a dark room lit with candles and lava lamps, we drank Pepsi and watched dark shadows. We went to the beach and corralled horseshoe crabs. We visited a bonfire with folk singers in a circle of guitars and leather fringe, of cigarettes and granny squares. Mary needed only to ask, and I would scramble with slavish devotion for anything she wanted, scampering up or down a flight of stairs to retrieve her blue terry cloth bathrobe, or to fetch a hairbrush, newspaper, pocketbook, or a glass of milk. On the rare occasions when my parents would go out for an evening, say to, I don't know, a wake, Mary would cook for my brother Jimmy and me, something wonderful that Mom would never make for dinner, like pancakes and applesauce. Standing on the chair beside her at the stove while she made popcorn was like watching a magic trick, the pan transformed into a foil turban before our eyes. Mary's bedroom was my favorite place in the house, and it was filled with artful and mysterious things. It was a raffia-covered Chianti bottle, obscured by colorful rivulets of melted candle wax. An inflatable hairdryer that looked like a giant pink shower cap. Psychedelic posters, sketchbooks filled with landscapes and portraits, a hanging mobile, a guitar, a record player, her very own black and white television, and, slowly making its way around the room, a long garland of chains she'd made from hundreds of aluminum pop-tops. Mary's word was law, and the law was clear about not entering her bedroom without an invitation, and to absolutely never enter her room when she wasn't there. Sometimes she secured herself inside and me outside with a hook and eyelatch. The linoleum felt cool against my cheek as I pleaded my case through the gap between the door and the floor. Staying in Mary's good graces was paramount, because the best thing in my world was the entree into hers. My brother Jimmy and I were lying on our bellies at opposite ends of the long hallway upstairs, scooting matchbox cars back and forth along strips of orange racetrack, when we heard the front door slam, signaling Mary's arrival home from school. Come through, she said a moment later as she stepped over me, her sandals and frayed bell-bottoms at eye level. Mary opened, then disappeared behind the closed door of her bedroom. A second later, she reappeared in the hallway. Which one of you was in my room? She demanded. Surprised, Jim and I both sputtered denials. Okay, one of you was lying. Mary brandished a 45 RPM record in her hand. Someone moved my record. I know where I left it, and it was moved, and one of you was a liar. Suspicious now of each other, Jim and I again professed our innocence before we began to accuse each other of the offense. Haltingly, Jim finally admitted that he'd seen me go into Mary's bedroom earlier that day. I was so outraged by his lie that I added my own lies to the growing pile, insisting I'd seen him go in there. Not only that, But I saw him take something too and hide it in his room. "You liar," Jimmy squealed, punching me in the chest. "You're a stinking liar." "All right," Mary interrupted. "We'll find out which one of you is lying right now. Come in here." We followed Mary into her room, where she held up a book she said was a Bible. Obeying her command, we placed our hands on it, each in turn repeating the solemn oath she made up on the spot. Still, we maintained our intractable positions, lying with abandon, and adding interesting new details about what we witnessed. We then watched in awe as Mary sprinkles talcum powder on the record, scrutinizing it for fingerprints. "Hold out your hands," she demanded. As we stood before our sister, two little dummies with our palms up, our mother appeared in the doorway carrying a stack of folded laundry. "What's going on here?" "Somebody came in my room and moved my record, and one of them is lying about who did it." Mom set the laundry on the end of Mary's bed. "I moved that record this morning when I gathered up your collection of water glasses to take downstairs. Why can't you bring your glass down in the morning instead of taking a new one upstairs every night?" My brother and I were off the hook. We dropped our hands to our hips and glared at Mary. Jim was audacious enough to demand an apology, but my sister laughed a single bitter "ha" in response. "I don't have to apologize to either one of you because you're still a couple of rotten little liars." I was crushed because she was right. We swore on a Bible while bearing false witness. We were liars. And it would be years before I finally learned that the truth would set us free.